As you watch the screen, your heart begins to beat faster. There's a fluttering in the pit of your stomach. Your throat is dry. Your palms damp. Suddenly a chill runs down your spine. You clutch the person next to you. You tell yourself, it's only a movie. It's only a movie. But sooner or later, it's time to go home.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
I'm Ron.
And I'm Lindsay.
And we're happy to welcome back to the show from Two Broke Geeks, North Pole Radio, published author and noted podcast guest, Matt Spaulding. What's up, Matt?
Hello, it's good to be back.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you here because we're talking about Re-Animator, starring Jeffrey Combs, Bruce Abbott, Barbara Crampton, David Gale, and Robert Sampson, based on the short story by H.P. Lovecraft, screenplay by Dennis Paoli, William J. Norris, and Stuart Gordon, directed by Stuart Gordon, released in 1985, where it had a box office critical and office success, followed by even more success on the burgeoning home video market, eventually spawning 2 sequels. So first things first, Matt, as we welcome you back to the show, this was your pick for our Shocktober 25. What have you been up to lately, and what's your background with this movie?
I haven't been up to much. I live a very boring life. My background with this movie, I actually hadn't seen this movie until, I don't know, within the last 10 years. I honestly can't exactly remember the first time I saw it, but I'll tell you what, the first time I did see this movie, I fell head over heels in love with it. This is just a weird, fun, just 80s schlocky horror flick with an interesting premise. And, you know, maybe a little old man yells at cloud here, but they just don't make horror movies like this anymore.
Nope.
Like, I can't remember the last time I had like a ton of fun watching a modern horror film, unless I guess Sinners probably would be it, but still not even the same kind of fun as watching something like Re-Animator. So
That's awesome. Ron, what about you? What's your background with Re-Animator?
This is one of those ones where I'm not quite sure where I first saw it because I've seen it so often. It was probably on Monster Vision or like Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater or something, because that's where most of my 80s knowledge comes from, or just it showed up randomly on HBO or Showtime one day. And I've watched it a whole bunch. I'm a big fan of it. It got me onto a weird, brief Lovecraft kick for a while, and it got me onto an extended Stuart Gordon kick, which is one of the reasons why we watched what was the movie with Kurtwood Smith where they have the intestinators implanted in them. It's a previous Film Strip episode. You can find it in the archives.
I'm trying to think of what this would have been.
Fortress,
yes.
It's like, I don't think I was on that one.
Yeah.
Christopher Lambert is in it, and yeah.
I'm not cutting people's heads off with a sword. That's my bad Christopher Lambert. But anyway. So, Lindsay, what about you and Re-Animator?
I watched it for the first time today.
Nice.
Never seen it before. This was my first viewing. And I have read some H.P. Lovecraft, but not this one, which is why I asked you guys if you had actually read this, but I'm sure we'll get to it. But yeah, this was my first time viewing it. It was special. I liked it, but it was a pause play situation. I was watching it in between meetings.
That's fair. That's fair. What a hell of a jolt to go to like professional meeting and then to watch this.
Honestly, it was a much needed reprieve. I think
Fair.
it worked out really well
Yeah.
for
Fair
me.
point. Fair point. I'll tell you, I got here similar to you, Ron. Like it was a Lovecraft rabbit hole I went down, and it's all because of John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, which we talked about many years ago. One of my favorite Carpenter flicks. But I realized like how much, a lot of people think like, oh, that's a lot of Stephen King reference. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of Lovecraft too. And I went back and was like, okay, I've heard this name. Let me figure out who this Lovecraft guy is. And I started reading some of his stuff, and then I started reading about him, and I immediately regretted that. But I started reading some of his stuff, and I was like, okay, I get it. And and so from there, I was like, all right, so it's finally time to rip off the Re-Animator, Band-Aid, because I had heard so much about this movie coming up, and I think I'd seen clips of it and stuff on like Terror in the Isles and that kind of show, that kind of thing. But I had never watched it. So I don't know, several years ago, I finally was like, all right, I'm watching Re-Animator. And I did, and I was like, okay, I get it now. I get all the references. I see what we're doing here, and I enjoyed it then too. And then, we'll get into it as we go through it. But I did not go back to the source material for this though until we decided to do this review, and I did it in audiobook form. But Matt, I think you actually like tore through it and read it.
Yeah, because it's right on the you just Google search it. It's right on the HP Lovecraft archive.
Mhm.
So it was just right on, I think it's just lovecraft.com or whatever it was. So I
Mhm.
read it. Yeah. It's different. The broad strokes are there. I had never read any Lovecraft before. I've read lots of Lovecraft inspired things,
Right.
because obviously Lovecraftian horror is like a whole subgenre of horror now. He took kind of that cosmic horror idea and really seeded it into our culture. But I'd always avoided him because his reputation as a virulent racist precedes him. And holy shit, I was not prepared for just his
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting description of a dead black man, to the point where his characters are repulsed even by his dead body and having to pick up a black man that apparently looks like a gorilla with forearms so long that he thinks of them as legs. And I was like, wow. Yeah, so I did read it, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like I get where the idea of the movie came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, like where when Stuart Gordon and company got a hold of this and they decided to do something with it, that the initial idea was to do a television show, and rightfully so, somebody told them there's no money in horror
No.
television. Yeah, like you can't do that. So they pared this down into the let's take the quote best of what's here and then just build from it. And I think they made the right choice with it, like from what I read and or what I heard and saw,
Hmm. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, like again, like Matt said, what you get in the book is it's a much longer too. It's a much longer time frame. It's like decades that this goes on. What we
Yes.
see in this movie is like the first couple of chapters, which is when they're in med school, and the unnamed narrator is the one that becomes the other doctor in this, the Dr. Kane character that we'll talk about. But like, and he's kind of telling the story in retrospect, so you hear all this stuff. It's interesting. Again, the broad strokes are there, along with a lot of stuff that you don't want, as Matt and I endured. And I think they made the right choice. I'm a big fan, and I've said this before on the show that I'm a big fan of when you adapt something, you don't have to feel slavishly like dedicated to just page to screen. Like, feel free to adapt, feel free to make the changes, feel free to adapt to another medium. And I feel like they pulled the best out of what was here, and they gave it to people that clearly understood the assignment, including Jeffrey Combs, which we will get at,
Hmm.
because he clearly knew what he was getting at, to the point that the audiobook that I listened to is narrated by him. So, which would give it just a nice bit of ambiance, like a good tie into this. So, I would recommend that.
Yeah,
But
it's
like I didn't
funny.
listen to the audio.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Hmm.
Sorry, sorry, man. I was just gonna say H.P. Lovecraft. The guy's so racist that even the 19th century said, "Man, that guy's racist."
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
pretty much.
Yeah, he's got issues. We won't get into that, but again, the things that he inspired are undeniable, and you can feel it, and you can see the tentacles of it, almost literally, in a lot of the stuff. And I like that, though. I like the ideas, the concepts that he has, particularly like just to go back in Mouth of Madness. That I mean, that is a straight up Lovecraft like Cthulhu type horror, and it's really neat. And when you give that to people like Carpenter and to actors like Sam Neill and Jurgen Prochnow and some of these other things, that you get the performance you want out of it and you get an experience from it. And I feel the same about this too, is that you got to hand it to the right people. Like you can't give that to the wrong set of performers and it worked the same way. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't know. That's the thing about adaptations is it's got to be in the hands of the right folks and stuff. So, I mean, Linz, we talked about it offline, but like, if you had given Lord of the Rings to anybody else but the people that ultimately made the ones that we know now, it wouldn't have worked as well, right?
Correct. I don't think. Watch, it'll. They're gonna announce that they're gonna remake it like tomorrow or something. But
Right.
I genuinely don't care to see any other Lord of the Rings. I don't think anyone could do it as well as it's already been done. And that's how I feel about it. Extended edition for life.
Yeah. That's the hashtag extended edition for life. No doubt. Well, I think before we get any further into this, it's time to turn over to the Re-Animator and tell us what this movie's all about. So please do.
Thanks, Jay. After an explosive exit from his Swiss university, Herbert West is looking for somewhere to put down roots and continue to study the effects of his mysterious glowing green reagent. West, who is one Igor away from being a full-blown crackpot, says he didn't make Dr. Hans Gruber explode. In fact, West claims that the serum he gave Dr. Gruber gave him life. Somehow, that allows West to escape from Europe and enroll at Massachusetts' beautiful Miskatonic University, where he studies under the alleged genius Dr. Carl Hill alongside fellow med student Dan Kane. Dan needs a roommate, but he can't talk his comely co-ed fiancée Megan into moving in with him because Megan and Dan has to stay on the good side of her father, who is the dean. Fortunately, that's where Herbert West comes into the picture. West takes the room after giving Dan a handful of cash and takes over the basement, much to the dismay of Megan and Dan's cat, Rufus. Rufus is not long for this world. Herbert claims that the cat died of natural causes, but if you believe that, I have a suitcase full of glowing green goop to sell you. Herbert takes the dead cat, and one injection later, he turns it into an alive cat. An alive cat that turns vicious and attacks both Dan and Herbert. Dan is forced to re-kill his kitty, only for West to bring the shattered corpse back to life again to demonstrate the true power of his weird green ooze. Unfortunately, Megan picks that time to check out the basement and is horrified by what she sees, which is Dan and Herbert standing over a mangled, crying cat corpse. Smash cut to Dan in front of the dean, pleading his case and trying to keep himself enrolled in school. The dean will have nothing of it, and he moves to throw out West immediately and to kill Dan's scholarship opportunities. In an attempt to save their sheepskins, Dan and Herbert break into the morgue and awaken a fresh body, only for that body to go on the same kind of angry rampage that the dead Rufus did on his reawakenings. Dr. Halsey stumbles onto the scene and is killed by the naked rage guy, but Herbert West never lets an opportunity or a fresh body go to waste. He brings Dean Halsey back to life, and the dean, who everyone thinks is just crazy and not a zombie, gets reprimanded into the care of Dr. Carl Hill, who immediately figures out that most crazy people have a steady heartbeat and a pulse and, that kind of stuff, and that, for whatever reason, the dean does not. He gives the dean a lobotomy, turning him into a sidekick corpse, and then goes to track down the source of his latest stolen discovery, Herbert West. Hill starts threatening West with all sorts of punishments for not cooperating, and Herbert relents just long enough to grab a shovel and bash the distracted Dr. Hill in the back of the head, then cut his head off with the end of the shovel. He then reanimates Hill's head and Hill's body in a scene that Matt Groening stole whole hog for Futurama. By the time West wakes up, Hill has gone mad with power. He has Carl capture Megan and bring her to his office where he strips her down, offering to give her a little head for her troubles. Thankfully, West and Dan save the day. Yes, and get into a final conflict with not only Hill, but his army of resurrected corpses. However, Megan's father has a face turn and defends his daughter and her friends from the attacking zombies as much as he can. Megan and Dan flee for safety while Herbert refuses to leave behind his life's work and his notes. In the ensuing struggle with Hill, he injects Hill's body with a crazy dose of reagent, and Hill starts mutating into a Lovecraftian cosmic horror, which is pretty funny how that works out. Dan acts quickly, saving the notes and the reagent, but as the two try to escape in the chaos at the hospital, Megan is strangled to death by a reanimated corpse, and by the time they get to the emergency room, it's too late to save her. But as we know, Dan Kane does not give up. The last thing we see is Dan injecting Megan with the reagent, and we hear Megan screaming in anguish in the distance, suffering the pains of rebirth as credits roll.
So, Matt, I got the first question to toss to you. How the hell did Stephen King not get sued for ripping this all off for Pet Sematary a few years later, the book and the movie?
Well, mostly because there's no, doctors and science and reagent and all of that stuff. It's pretty different, I would say, except for the crazy things coming back from the dead. But as we know from zombie lore, things that come back from the dead typically aren't like super nice either. So,
I mean, there's like the cat, there's the lover bringing his person back to life. I mean, I'm joking that he should have been sued. I mean, things just happen. It's synchronicity of stories, but I had never realized how closely there were so many like threads between these two. Like if we were on Schlock and
yeah.
All, this would be a good double. Re-Animator and Pet Sematary would work
Yeah.
together. So,
Very true.
um, I mean, let's get into this. We talked a little bit about the source material and stuff like that, but Linz, I don't know if you looked into the background of this, but like Stuart Gordon was a big theater producer and director, and was just
Mm-hmm.
going to shoot this at his theater with his actors until the board said, "No, you will not."
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a really inexperienced group. They were just like, "Hey, can you guys come do this?" And they were like, "Sure." And honestly, like not for nothing, but I thought the body horror looked great. The blood looked great. It
Mm.
was a lot of the shots had to be done in one take because there was so much blood. It would have taken them too long to clean it up. So the goal every time was to get it done in one take because it would have taken hours to reset, which is very theatrical at its core because you really only have one take to get it right when
Yeah,
you're on stage.
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I was like, how do you get to the point where you can pull that off in one take and things? Assuming you've been in some effects driven stuff in your day.
Yeah. I mean, you just rehearsal pretty much. I'm sure they had rehearsal. They wrapped this with like one very small exception. They wrapped this whole movie in 18 days.
Just wild to think
Wow.
about. Yeah.
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 They went back and reshot, I think, like the beginning scene, like the opening scene, like a couple weeks later. But like the entire movie was done in 18 days, and most of the shots were done in one take. So,
It's pretty wild.
which is
Yeah.
crazy. So, yeah, I was trying to go through that in my head too. And I think the effects team probably tested some of the effects first to make sure that the, blood cannons or whatever they used would go off when they needed to.
Yeah.
And the actors were probably somewhat familiar with what was going to happen and when, and then they just kind of went with it, I guess. I don't know how else they would have
That's
done it.
it's pretty wild, like the stuff that they get away with in this. We talked about a lot of heavy effects movies and stuff through the years and things, and Ron kind of tossing this your way or whatever, but like they didn't even like try to hide what they were going for here. They knew that like, okay, we're not like classy Cronenberg or whatever, but we're going to be kind of the B version of that. And I think leaning into that sort of works.
Yeah, I think that gives it a certain energy that you can tell they're taking it as seriously as they can. Their performances, their work, their special effects, all that is being taken seriously. But the story in
Mhm.
and of itself is not a serious story, and they're not taking their adaptation of this thing in a serious way. Um, Unlike somebody like Cronenberg, who is pretty, respected and noteworthy, and always seems to have something to say. This is a little bit more like that the Shane Black, Fred Dekker school of we're gonna have some fun with this thing, whether you people like it or not.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you like it because we liked it,
Yeah. I think
and I
it's
feel
very
there's a
much
lot
a
of that. Yeah, go ahead.
no, it's very much a pop the boys kind of moment. Like, yeah, we're gonna make ourselves laugh. So yeah.
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 Yeah, and I think it's really successful in that because it is a this movie gives me more laughs than most studio comedies do.
Yeah, so Matt, to that point to you or whatever, like where are you on like the horror comedy realm and
I
stuff?
tend to like horror comedies. One of the earliest monster movies I ever remember watching is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein,
Hmm.
which I mean is horror comedy. It's a monster movie, but it's also hilarious. So I'm pretty big in the horror comedy realm. And I like, Shaun of the Dead, and the other night I watched, I mean it's this is a straight up comedy, it's a parody, but I watched Young Frankenstein the other night,
That's a good one. Yeah.
because horror and comedy are essentially the same thing, right? They're both the build up attention with a release at the end.
Hmm.
Just the release is different. It's two sides of the same coin, which is why people that are in comedy tend to transition well into horror. See Jordan Peele,
Hmm.
so I think horror comedies tend to work really well, and this one, it's this one has a line it just makes me laugh. I think about it all the time. It's all on Jeffrey Combs. It's
A
just
thousand
delivery.
percent.
It's not that the line is
Mhm.
particularly funny, but it's what would a note say? Cat dead, details later.
No,
It's
you're 1,000% right. It's you've got to have the right mix of things, and that's why I wanted to talk about the theater connections to this because I feel like there's something so pure about theater because you have to connect with the audience every night, and it's a different
Hmm.
group of people, right? So
Mhm.
you just have to land, you have to stick the landing on the line, the joke, the moment, whatever it is. And I'll never forget seeing a production of Damn Yankees when I was a kid growing up, and this guy that I knew was in it in college and he played the devil character in that. And there's a part where the devil like kicks a table and goes, "Oh, my hoof," and that's like a joke that you have to think about to get it, but it's a joke grenade. Like it goes off 2 seconds later. The way Martin delivered that every time, and I saw him do it 3 times, was perfect every time because he had different audiences. And there's something about the way Jeffrey Combs particularly works through this movie, and we'll get into him in a bit, that just nails that every time. And I feel like a lot of that comes from Stuart Gordon and that theater background of knowing
Mhm.
how to get that out of actors. A lot of times these horror movies and stuff, it's it's kind of the director sort of this visionary who's building this scene, and then you've got the effects guy and maybe the cinematographer that's sort of building all of it, and then the actors are just kind of left to figure it out. But in this case, you've got a director that's very involved with the actors, and I'm going to pull this performance out of you inside of all this insane shit that we're going to put on the screen at you. Because the thing that I had forgotten about this movie in the years since when I first saw it was how much like just gonzo effect stuff there is in it. Like
Oh yeah.
I thought it was just a couple of scenes, but it's like the fucking thing, man. Like it's every other minute.
So much. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And it's well done with like maybe one or two exceptions, but
Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably, I mean, Dr. Hill, Dr. Hill's body carrying his own head is probably the worst looking
Yeah.
effect I can think of in the whole movie, because
but it's a great bit.
it's a great
It's a
bit, but
good
the
bit.
effect itself doesn't look great. But no,
Fair.
I don't
Yeah.
care because it's a great bit. But I'm
Yeah.
just, when it comes to effects, that's the one I'm thinking of that like sticks out as like looking the worst. And the
Hmm.
rest of them are like, even just Dr. Hill's head sitting in the pan surrounded by the blood looks great. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's just his
Yeah.
head in a pan and blood, and it looks great. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those
And
those
and
kind of things have to
the
carry it through. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the funny part about the effect with the head thing is they built a specialized set of shoulders, a torso that he could put his head through,
Yeah.
and he was literally walking around with his head in his own hands
Yes. Yeah.
to make that effect work. Which, when you consider how uncomfortable that angling of your head would have had to have been to make it look right, that's a it doesn't work as well as they wanted it to, but I think it's pretty impressive performing from that actor.
Oh yeah, no,
just
it's clever and
to
everything,
like
and
suffer through that.
yeah, no, it's I don't want to drag it down. It's clever, and he's really good in that. Like I said, it's a good bit, and it doesn't take away from my enjoyment that it just looks weird because the body just looks huge, especially where you can tell that he's like bent over to play, and his ass is sticking out, and
Yeah.
it's like it looks weird, but it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the film.
That's what I go back to though, like the fact that it's so practical effects and the fact that you can see the seams in it or whatever does not take away from the fact of what's happening in front of you.
No.
And it's so wild, and and the thing about this movie that I'll appreciate forever is that from the opening jump, they don't play with your emotions on it. They let you know immediately like what you're in for. It's like, this is bonkers. We know it's bonkers. Just get on the damn roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to show you like exactly how bonkers we can get.
Yeah,
If
from
you
the
think
from
this
the
is a-
get-go.
if-
Yeah.
Yeah, if you think the first scene where a guy explodes is
Mhm.
crazy, just wait till Dan has to hit his own cat across the room like a baseball bat, like with a baseball bat to splatters against the wall, and then it turns into an anguished cat puppet when we inject it with some more. Funny enough, that stuff is luminol.
Yeah, no,
It's the stuff
yeah.
they used to detect blood in crime scenes. That's crazy.
Yeah, no. That's I had read
I
that.
wonder
and
if
I
it
was-
had any adverse like reactions.
yeah, you wonder like
What if
if
they
that
had any adverse reactions with that to their like prop blood?
yeah, I wonder like what that would look like under the scene, but it's a great effect. I mean, I think the thing everybody will remember from this among the scene that we will get to is the just the green goop. Like Matt, you were talking about recently on an episode of Two Girls One Crib that the very end of Halloween 6, or at least the theatrical version, is Tommy Doyle jamming Michael Myers with what can
Just
only be
injects him.
described as the Re-Animator agent
It's
before he
true.
beats him up with a pipe.
Yep. That's exactly it. It's no, it's I mean, it's really iconic, right? What a great
Mhm.
choice to be like, this isn't just gonna be something, it's gonna be bang. This is gonna be
Yeah.
fluorescent glowing green in
Well, this is
your
the whole
face.
motif of the movie around it. Like the credits are with that and
Yeah.
stuff. And I love that though, that you've got your magical MacGuffin is just this like visible through line for the whole movie, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, and every time he opens that case, that stuff is radioactive green.
Right. It's Marcellus
It never
Wallace's
looks
soul.
dull.
You know? Yeah.
Yes, and they never falter with that bit of the presentation,
Mm.
whether it's in the vials in his suitcase, or it's in his hand, or it's in a syringe. It's obviously going to be the stuff, not the stuff. It's going to be the reagent,
Mhm.
and it's obviously going to do something bad because things that glow like that aren't good for you.
Well, and a lot of that is on Matt Goldberg, the cinematographer, for knowing how do I light this green luminescent shit so that it pops off the screen every time. And part of it is I dress everybody in these sort of down colors. Everything else is sort of underlit. Then that is like backlit behind it, and that I appreciated.
Or they're not dressed at all.
No, also fair. Yeah,
That too. Yep.
there's an incredible amount of nudity in this movie.
So much nudity.
Yep.
Like, I do wonder what the casting call looked like for this. What did the description say when actors showed up in this movie?
to the point that Barbara Crampton said they told her straight out, "You're not going to be dressed for over half of this," and she's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're
Yeah.
equal opportunity. It's not
Mhm.
just pretty ladies
yeah.
naked.
No.
Big ladies,
That's what-
little ladies, dudes,
There's
big
all of
dudes,
it.
ripped dudes.
Yeah.
yeah, this is proto
There's
like
something
nude
for everyone
elves.
in this.
Yeah, no, there's-
Whatever your flavor, they
Yeah.
got it.
There's lots of zombie dong in this, which I was not remembering and not
Yeah.
expecting, but in the climax in particular. So
Yep.
But if you're like me, Jay, you remember watching it on standard def television, so it was mostly just shadows.
Yeah, I saw this on a 13-inch TV the first time I saw it, y'all. So I mean, like I don't watching it now and watching it this time, I was like, oh, I forgot how much there was in this movie or whatever.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, too, and I'll say this too, because like sex in horror movies is a trope that has lasted forever, and it's usually played off as cheese as hell. Like I appreciate a movie where it's like somewhat realistic, like of how people
Well,
like.
most of the naked in this movie is dead people. Like,
Right.
they're
Yeah.
not going to
It's
be in the
morgue.
morgue with their
Yeah.
clothes on.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, it makes sense that they are naked. So
Right.
it's not just nudity for nudity's sake. It
No.
Right.
actually makes sense within the storyline,
Mhm.
which is, nice.
Well, I mean, like, but even in Megan and Dan together, when they're together or whatever, like it feels very like normal, like it's real. It's not like some
Yeah.
fake porno. It's like this is what normal people look like
Yeah.
when they have sex, and then that's
Yeah.
it, And then I got to go back home because Dad won't let me stay up past 12. What the fuck? But okay, sure, like that was the whole thing. But all the vibes of this film, I think, are what carry it, is because inside of its like ridiculousness, there's some like core reality of like, oh, I could be that person, or I know that person, right?
Mhm.
Like everybody's had that wacky person in your life that like had this crackpot idea. Maybe they weren't trying to reanimate the dead, but they were doing things and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, I know that personality type.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that weird, like, single-minded dedication that some people get, where they just, this is the thing I'm going to do, and nothing else will satisfy me. Nothing else is even a possibility. It's this or jail, and even if
Right.
I go to jail in Re-Animator 3, I'm going to continue to be doing my experiments.
Well, I mean, it's a good transition to talk about our character. We got to talk about Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West here. And Matt, I'll toss it to you first. I mean, I found this to just be delicious, top to bottom.
I freaking love Jeffrey Combs. I love him in this. I love him in all of his 6 dozen roles across the Star Trek franchise.
I know you'd mention that, Matt.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs is great. He's great in this role. Like because we he because Herbert's not the villain of the piece, obviously, or
Mm-mm.
not, but he's also not the good guy in the story either.
Mm-mm.
He's the catalyst of everything going on, but he's not a good guy. He's just this kind of psychotically focused on this one thing, mad scientist individual, and Combs plays that so well. And also he's freaking irritating. Like, you've met this guy in real life, where
Mhm.
like to the point where he's in Dr. Hill's class snapping the pencils just to be a prick.
What a dick move, by the
He just
way.
doesn't, just because he
Yeah.
doesn't like Dr. Hill, because Dr. Hill stole, Dr. Gruber's work and all that stuff. And but also, like we mentioned earlier, he's also funny. Like the moments where, right at the end, Ron, you mentioned right at the end when he injects the crazy amount of reagent into the corpse, he goes, "I told you I had a theory. Overdose." He like screams it.
Mhm.
Yes. And the funny thing is, he was like, Combs had never read any H.P. Lovecraft and was really actually taken aback by the script when he was cast. He was like, whoa. And he only took the role because he really needed the work and the money. And he just kind of hoped not a lot of people would see it. And
That's the thing he's known for.
I know.
Yeah. But no, he brings such like I don't know how to describe him. It's like he is the mad scientist, yes, but he's like the mad scientist's apprentice who then runs wild with the research. He goes on his own tangent. I can't think of a good comparison right now, but he's so
It's
like,
kind of, Jay, if I can do a comparison, it's kind of like in Fantasia, where Mickey Mouse is the sorcerer's apprentice.
yes, yes. That's
That
a
is
All right.
great
yeah.
call,
And he
Ron.
thinks he's got everything under control. He thinks he's in charge. But it turns out he is decidedly not in charge.
Yes, no, I love that. That's a
Except the
great
brooms don't,
call.
try to kill
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse.
No, that's a perfect pull, and he's just as short as Mickey Mouse too, which makes it perfect. Because Rico's a tiny little man.
That's the benefit of having a 6-year-old is you relearn things about Fantasia. by
Look,
watching
that
things
fair
otherwise.
point, but I love that. That's a great pull because he is this like he's gotten a hold of something that he understands, but he doesn't fully know where it goes. But he's just childish enough to like I'm just gonna push it and just see what happens. Like he's just an agent of chaos the whole time, and that's what I love about him is that. But he's so like buttoned up about it. Like he's very he is very much like out of a Corman movie.
He's in a suit and tie the whole. I mean,
Yeah.
The whole
he's
time.
always
A fresh
yeah.
shirt.
Fresh shirt.
Yeah,
Although
his
his jacket, I want that overcoat that he
Oh,
wears.
fair.
That's a
Yeah, that's a great
Oh,
jacket.
100%.
styling jacket.
100%, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great code. But it's funny you called him an agent of chaos, Jay, because when you were going down, well, he's not the protagonist and he's not the antagonist. I was thinking he's the agent of chaos.
Yeah.
He is the straw that stirs the drink. He's the
Catalyst.
He's
Yeah.
the shaker that you put all this stuff into. Yeah, the catalyst.
Yeah.
It's
He's
funny,
just going to
I
cause
was trying
problems.
to think of what his D&D alignment would be. I was trying to think of what like his
a
D&D
good one.
alignment would be, and I think he would be chaotic neutral, which is what everybody wants to be in D&D because nobody wants to be lawful and nobody wants to be evil. But he's definitely very chaotic. He is completely unmoored by the concerns of society and good taste, and like maybe don't just jam needles into corpses to see what happens. But he actually might be like lawful neutral because he follows his own ethical code, even though it is like not anyone else's ethical code. He's very rigorous about how he applies his science and the study of his what he's got going on.
That kind of goes back to something you said in your intro, Ron. I was going to address, I know apparently what Ron thinks. I was going to ask everybody though, do we think that he killed Dan's cat, or do we believe that maybe he found the cat dead? Because we don't, aside from Dr. Hill, we don't see him killing any subjects to do his experimenting on. So I didn't
killed
know.
Dan's cat for sure.
Yeah.
Because he mentions later in the movie that he has himself killed several different animals, cats included, for his experimentation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good point.
I feel like he killed the cat, but for like as he would say, the justifiable purpose.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and there is this cute little like half-second moment when he says, I've killed, I don't know what the exact line is, but it's like, I've killed rats, I've killed birds, I've killed cats, I've killed dogs. And he speeds over cats, and Dan kind of has this, wait, what?
Yeah. Well, I got a better
I'll let
one.
it go.
I got a better one for y'all. Who killed Dr. Gruber? Like, how did that go down that he got to reagent him? I feel like he may have done it to see what would happen.
I think it may have been at the
I could see
bequest of
that.
Dr. Gruber, though.
Yeah.
I also feel like maybe Dr. Gruber just kind of had a heart attack.
Could
Could
be.
have.
And
I
Herbert
believe
was
that.
just like,
Yeah.
yes, opportunities.
Yeah, you call him the agent of chaos. Ron, I'll tell you who he is in a musical comparison. Herbert West is Izzy Stradlin in the original Guns N' Roses lineup. I write all the cool songs, but also fuck all of you, and I'll do what I want anyway. You know, and when he left, it was never the same. I mean, like he kind of fits that role. Like he's just buttoned up enough that he keeps the thing together, but he's also so out of control that it just spins off the wheels. You know, that's part of his charm in some ways. I again, Jeffrey Combs, I think you could, I try to think like, who else would you have gotten to do this at the time? And I can't think of anybody better, that would have been younger enough to do it. He's just so perfect. And it's even more perfect, like you said, Matt, that he didn't even want to do it. He just needed the work. And the fact that he just, okay, well, I hope nobody watches this piece of shit. But, I'm going to keep doing it because you never know.
Well, and it's not even like he acted like he was thinking I'm in a he just went for it. There's nobody in
Yeah.
this movie that's not going for it and giving
Yes.
a good
Yeah,
performance.
it's
There's
true.
nobody in this that's like I'm in a piece of shit. Like
Yeah.
everybody in this is like I'm making a good movie, which is,
Mhm.
I know nobody sets out to make a bad movie, but I think we've all seen movies where, the people in it can tell they're making a bad
They
movie.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they figured it out as they're making it. And I don't think anybody here ever thought that.
No, and that's a good transition to talk about Barbara Crampton as Megan in this because she is the thankless role of the one female among all these crazy dudes that has to do all this stuff. And she's got quite the arc in this movie. She goes through quite a bit.
Hmm. She does. I mean, being the dean's daughter, dating Dan, which I mean, fine. Like, and then she's the one that realizes pretty much right out the gate that like something's wrong with Herbert. West shows up at the door. He's
Yes.
already odd right out the gate, coming in the house. She's like, Dan, shouldn't we even talk about this? And Herbert pulls out that fat wad of cash and is like, no, I'm ready right
Yeah, we're
now.
done.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
And not to mention that all he really cares about is not the room. He cares about that the place has a basement. So she gets
Yes.
like bad vibes off him right away. But then she also has to go through this whole thing of like, yeah, like I told you, like there's something weird with this guy. Your fucking cat's dead in his fridge. Now, wait, what the heck happened? Now, Dan, what do you mean you lost your scholarship? You can't do school. Oh crap, my dad's dead. Wait a minute. No, he's not dead. How did he lose his mind? What happened to him again?
Hmm.
Like, oh my God, now like a head is like trying to give me oral sex and now I'm dead. Like, that is a hell of a story arc.
It's a long way to go.
And then kind of re-alived as credits roll.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it definitely real-lived for the sequel, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Bride of
I remember
Reanimated.
Bride of Reanimator.
Yeah, as
I don't
we'll get
remember
She's
too
not
into.
in
well.
Bride of Re-Animator.
Yeah, but I like her though because of everybody in this movie. So like you have Herbert West, who's the mad scientist, right? We've got that. You've
Mhm.
got her like generic boyfriend, who's Dr. Kane or soon to be Dr. Kane, who's trying to be straight laced guy, but he's also like banging the dean's daughter, and may or may
Yeah.
not be for just getting through medical school. Like you don't know, like it's not going to be like a Betty Broderick situation later in life, and she seems to be going along with it. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought she was so funny because she was like, maybe I'm being taken advantage of, but I don't really know. Maybe I don't care. I don't know. And then wait a minute, this guy's a little too much, but this seems interesting. Like I don't know. I felt like Barbara Crampton brought a lot of range to a role that didn't deserve it. And this is what I'm trying to say. Like I
Mhm.
found her to be very fun. And if anybody is the avatar for the audience, I think it's Megan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely a good point, Jay, because like she is the one who's witnessing all of this and freaking out, which is what the audience should be doing.
Yeah,
Right.
because
Like we're definitely not supposed to be Herbert West because we're not sociopaths.
No.
We're definitely not supposed to be Dan because he's at least willing to be swayed by this and like he's got that kind of doctory detachment already because he's already doing his residency.
Yeah.
And then you've got Megan who just shows up as like, why are you guys sweating over top of a screaming mangled cat?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, I don't know, like, what does Megan do even, because she clearly like has a job, she has a life, but she's,
She's in school for something, I think, but I don't think they ever
but
mention
she's
what
not in
it is.
medical school. Like they make that
No.
clear. Like she's doing something, but she's
Yeah.
clearly she talks about like supporting Dan, through medical school. So she's clearly working. She's got her own like life or whatever, but she's sort of hitching herself to all this nonsense in a lot of ways. And I don't know. I thought Barbara Crampton again, like if you needed evidence of being a scream queen, the fact that her scream is unbelievably great.
Yeah.
But she seemed to be like down for like all the crazy stuff that they wanted her to do too, which is a lot to ask in this movie.
I mean, you had two choices really. You had her and you had Linnea Quigley. And
Fair.
Linnea Quigley would have too much edge to be this kind of like more wide-eyed, like responding
Yeah.
to chaos. If
I,
it was Linnea Quigley, she'd been like, "Yeah, let's see what else this reagent can do. Let's inject it into a basketball."
so Matt is Megan to Rachel what Linnea Quigley would have been to Tina, doing the Halloween 5 comparison here.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, that would be that would be exactly it. So that's a good one. I hadn't even thought of that.
I mean, the kind of energy, is what I mean. It's like
Yep.
she's
No,
more like
yep, you're right.
she's girl next door, but she's also not like the Snow White, Piers the Driven Snow girl. She's got her own life, or whatever. But like, I like that about her. She seemed. That's the thing I'll say about this is like her and even Dan Kane like seem like real people that you could meet. They're stuck in this really extraordinary circumstance,
Mhm.
but they seem like the most real people that you would meet along the way. And then we'll get into the academics in a minute, which I have lots of hashtag thoughts about. But those two in particular seemed like real people that you would know.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I don't know. Dan, I liked his little arc into being, I feel like Dan and Herbert had a couple of, it felt like they were going to have a did we just become best friends moment. It just felt
Yes.
like we were always on the
Mm.
cusp of that. Like they were just one weird ass experiment away from being roommates for life.
I,
No.
I think what really, I think what really cemented it, at least in Herbert's mind, before he got dragged off into From Beyond or whichever Lovecraft movie he got dragged into after this one. I feel like what cemented it was when Dan went back into the room full of zombies and grabbed his notes. And that's
Yes.
when Herbert West was like, "This is
Yeah.
my friend for the rest of my life," which is about 30 seconds pending a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair. So
What did he
But
get
you can also
squished by?
kind of,
Were
it's
those
also like,
intestines?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
yes.
Mhm.
But I think they established Dan as somebody who would be willing to go along with this in the very beginning. The first time we see Dan, he's giving CPR to that lady who's dying of a heart attack or whatever.
Mhm.
And Caroline Purdy Gordon tells him in her Star Trek, Star Trek: The Next Generation voice, "Leave it alone, Dan. You got to know when to say. You got to know when they're done." And he's
Right,
like, "No, I
right.
refuse to admit that they're done."
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of establishes him as he's just as much into the idea of conquering death as Herbert West is. He's not coming at it from the I'm the mad scientist. This is my just my pursuit, and I don't really care if these people are happy that I've beaten death. But he comes at it from the more altruistic, like I'm a doctor. My whole goal is for people not to die,
Right.
Right.
and that's my whole
Mhm.
thing. And when he sees that this stuff is working, he gets a little intrigued by it. And I think he's the perfect person for West to kind of pull into these experiments because he's clearly an intelligent guy. He's dedicated, and he's willing to like say, "All right, Herbert, do your weird, insane thing, and we'll see what happens."
Mhm. He's the like in other movies, he would be the blank kind of, worthless Ken doll boyfriend to the side, right? But
Yeah.
but because he has this sort of ability to, again, can I be best friends with this weirdo and also date the dean's daughter and also just be a legitimate doctor? Like he's got that
Mhm.
trifecta of, you balance going or imbalance going on in his head. It makes him fun to watch. And Bruce Abbott does a great job with the role. Like we should say, like I think he
Yeah.
clearly understood what kind of movie he was in and didn't shy away from it.
Yeah. I think the movie itself understood what kind of movie it was supposed to be. I feel
Hmm.
like it didn't, the fact that it went from horror to comedy to mad scientist to a little bit of comedy to horror to body horror to, etc.
Hmm.
It didn't feel, um, it all felt intentional. It didn't
Right.
feel like it was detached. And I think a lot of that, I think it was edited really well. I think they cut a lot out of it, or they cut several scenes slash storylines out of it that were originally in the movie, because they were like, the audience is smart enough to figure this out themselves. They don't need this whole extra storyline, which I always appreciate, because audiences, for the most part, I think should be given a little more credit to figure that kind of thing out. Like, we don't need to be beat over the head with that kind of,
The
whatever.
only thing that they cut that you kind of have to figure out for yourself, and it still doesn't make a lot of sense without it missing, is Dr. Hill discovering he can have psychic powers over the people he lobotomizes.
Right.
And you get that a little bit at the end. You realize that all the corpses are psychically attached to him, but they cut out the explanation of that. And it sort of just appears out of nowhere right there at the end of the film. And it's a little bit weird, but otherwise.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
mean, I don't know, as first time viewer, but I thought that the end, I mean, it showed up when it needed to. For me, I feel like he just kind of gave an off the cuff, oh, by the way, I discovered a new lobotomy technique that
laser
allows me to
lobotomy.
do this thing. Yeah. So it's like, all right.
I feel like
Sure,
that too
that's believable.
that was a very 80s thing too. Like, we got to have friggin' lasers in this movie, like they
Yeah.
they came up with that. But
I mean, but what else is like cutting edge medicine, Jay, but lasers?
well, yeah, especially in 1985. Yeah, no, 100%. No, I
And the
get it.
laser going in, I don't know how much you guys know about lobotomy, but they usually go up through the nose or through the eye.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, going through the forehead. That's
when
the
he
hard
was
way to
going through the
go.
forehead, I was like, I don't think that's how it's
that's
done.
a thicker part of the skull that doesn't.
He did have a laser, and he did say it was a new technique. So
he did indeed. So
yeah, sharks with freaking laser beams.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we talk about
I just assumed that Dr. Hill gained his psychic powers over the other corpses, the other reanimated corpses, because he did lobotomize them, and that made them more susceptible to suggestion.
Yeah.
And he also has the extra power of, remember, because he was already alive and he gave himself an extra dosage of the juice.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well,
Yep.
Clearly we've established this juice does crazy things when you inject it into your brain. Maybe it heightens your psychic awareness, or maybe he just looks like somebody who should have been a scanner in the movie Scanners, and that's why.
Can we talk about too the fact that he's got the padded room next to his office? I feel like he has experimented on people on his own, which is a fun contrast to West, who you think like, 100%. Oh, how can you dare do this? And he's like fucking doing it too, just not with green goop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole psychic thing is like something like he has like figured out over time. Like, if I do this technique right and they use this type of language, I can more or less mind control people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, it ultimately doesn't really
feel like
matter.
it's just. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, in the end, it ultimately doesn't really matter. It's just something that was cut, and that's all.
But you also, like, he is the most infamous stereotypical man in power kind of person. Like, you see that when it goes awry, it's really going to go awry. Evidenced mostly by the fact that he's got like a whole file on Megan that he's obsessed with, and he's got like a lock of her fucking hair and all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay, we went down a different role of creep that I was not prepared for, a Re-Animator, but here we are.
Also, can we just talk? Yeah, like, did Dean? He was so forward about being as creepy as he was in front of Dean Halsey too.
Yeah,
and I was like, dude, you don't want your daughter staying overnight with this nice looking, well kept medical student, but you're gonna let this guy who works for you just creep all over her all the time. That's disgusting. Ew. Oh, and also you're just gonna rip her dress off. I get that you're a zombie, but come on, man.
Right. There was lots of
bad parenting is what that is.
There's lots of bad parenting. There was lots of creepiness, lots of grooming. Like this,
Mhm.
it's pretty like it's, and that's why I say like I feel like this movie
Well,
owes a little bit in its Cronenbergness way because Cronenberg would do nudity, but not in a way that titillated you, but in a way that made you go, ew. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like this movie does that. Yeah.
I do
well,
have.
that's one of the reasons that gave me like the Scanners comparison, Jay. But I had a question for the group before we move on from Dr. Hill.
Hmm.
Who is less ethical, Dr. Hill or Herbert West?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, who's more likely to say, this is a line I won't cross? And I kind of think it's Herbert
I
West,
kind of feel like it's West. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, because
which is a weird thing to say because he's kind of a scumbag, and it's
yep,
pretty established that he's not like constrained by traditional morality, as I'm sure he would say.
Yeah, but he becomes like an endearing scumbag. Dr. Hill just
Yeah,
gets
it's not
worse and
that he's like
grosser.
It's like
It's
the
not that
difference
like he's a
between a
bad
nudist
guy.
and a
He's just
flasher. Like Herbert West would be a nudist, but Dr. Hill would be a
Yes.
flasher.
That's a great comparison.
Jay. That's such a great comparison. Oh man,
I don't know where I came up with that from, but here we are.
wow, here we are. Yeah, works though.
I mean, it does, right?
So is it
oh that is a fabulous pull.
is it necrophilia if it's the dead guy that wants to have sex with a live person?
Hmm.
But is he
I
really dead?
We're also
Don't
getting
know.
back into
That's too philosophical of a
yeah.
question.
Okay, I'm gonna answer. It's creepy no matter what. So, and it's also the like. There's this whole like you dress down your daughter and strap her down for basically a gynecological exam to then have your worst employee ever with his disembodied head
Ugh.
try to there's lots of fucked up shit in that scene, and thank goodness they play it as fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
They're not playing it as ooh, this is a hot scene. They're playing it as can you fucking believe that
yeah.
this disgusting old disembodied head man is about to, assault this strapped down college co-ed girl. Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
And see, West comes in and saves the day.
Mhm.
So
Yes, yep.
he's our good guy.
Well, I
really.
get
But
like
I also feel like that West was going to burst in on there to kick Dr. Hill's ass regardless.
right,
Just
yeah.
because he didn't like Dr. Hill, whether he was doing something bad or
Sure.
doing something indifferent,
Well,
Herbert West was going to bust in there and get him.
I'll say this too though that like I don't think he like had a thing for Megan at all or whatever, but I don't think he wanted her violated in any way. He's like, no, that's not what we're here to do.
Yeah.
We're just trying to reanimate dead people. We're not trying to get some, so
Mhm.
If anything, he thought Megan was a distraction for Dan.
yeah, right.
He
It's
didn't
like
Yeah.
that part of-
maybe we can get her maybe this will make her go away so I can just have Dan all to myself.
Right. When she
he was
comes
like-
back and interrupts them at some point, and he just goes, "This bitch."
Right, okay, that's my question to the group. Did Dr. West have a thing for Dan? Because I kind of think he did.
Oh, I could see that. I could
Maybe.
see that.
I don't
but
know.
I don't know if he has a thing for like any human. I think his thing,
Yeah.
or animal, to be clear. I think his
there
thing
could be
is just-
intellectual
yeah.
attraction between people, is what I'm saying. I think he's like,
Sure.
I like Dan. I need Dan on my side, and if I can get this quote this bitch out of the way, then maybe I can just have Dan all to myself.
Yeah,
you know?
he thinks
think-
Dan is interesting and thinks
Yeah.
he can.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
think he just wanted to have his science all to himself, and she kept interrupting his process.
Well,
and
and
that's
let's be
what
real.
annoyed him the most.
West is an experimenter, but Dan is a doctor. Like he knows what
Yeah.
he's doing, and so I can use that.
Mhm.
That's a good tool for me to have, and I like the guy.
Yeah.
Also, he didn't totally judge me for murdering his cat, so
Yeah.
therefore,
And Dan killed his cat again, so
right? Well, I mean, look, if you
when
saw
he
that cat,
needed
you did the
to.
same thing they did to church and Pet Cemetery. You got to put that thing down.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That cannot be done. So yeah, but I made a note of this earlier, and I wanted to talk about Dr. Halsey and Dr. Hill and these kind of really intelligent academics who are also so fucking out of touch with like actual reality and what people do and how jobs work and stuff. Can I
Yeah.
tell y'all that is how it is? All right. I've worked
I
around a lot of
know.
them. They're sweet people. I don't think anybody's reanimating the dead in the colleges I work for, but they're also like a little just, you don't know how this really works in
Well,
life.
it's like back to school, and that's so like
Yes.
that. Like when the
Yes.
business professors are like, "This is how widgets are made," and Rodney Dangerfield is like, "No, business doesn't work like
Yeah.
that."
You got to have the Teamsters. You got, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's still like that.
Hmm.
As I mean, the classes I'm in now, my professors are like, "You have to do this," and I'm like, "This does not matter.
Yeah.
Like
Like, I do this every day. I promise you. This
this
is not
doesn't
what we,
matter."
yeah. Yeah. And
But
that's,
if it
yeah.
gets me an A, it matters. Whatever,
Right.
Right.
whatever you want,
Fair.
whatever
Fair. Right.
makes you happy.
Yeah, and but that's what I'm looking at this. I'm like, how could somebody like Dr. Hill be allowed to exist under Dr. Halsey? Tenure's a hell of a drug. This is what I'm going to say to all of you. So, like, it is the
And
greatest
also,
like plot armor of all time.
Sure.
So,
Dr. Hill is not like an academic slouch.
no,
No.
Right.
no,
No.
Sure, he steals ideas from other people,
it's
but
everyone that
Who
they all do.
doesn't?
he's
Okay, so they all
yeah.
borrow research. That's part
But
of research.
he definitely stole from Gruber, as we've
Hmm.
established, and he's got that whole theory about where the soul resides or something. Where
Right, or there if
Yeah,
there's
the
one.
will
there was
or
someplace he thought
Right.
in the
yeah.
brain.
Hmm.
Yeah, what was it, Matt?
I think he calls
What do
it
you
the
call it?
will.
Yeah.
The will. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the
Do you think
free
that's why he
choice
did
thing.
the
Yeah.
lobotomy through the forehead?
Because
Yep.
he thought it
Do you
was up
think
here
that's
in the
why
frontal
he put the
lobe.
drill through
Yeah.
the forehead so he could burn out the will, and that way they would just do his will,
It worked.
the zombies?
I mean,
It
The-
also like it kind of acted as like a neutering agent, like you
mm,
get your dog neutered and they stop peeing in the house or whatever. The
Mm-hmm.
second that Dean Halsey was lobotomized after his reanimation, he like calmed down so
yes,
much.
very
Mhm.
much. Very docile. So,
Hmm.
Well, the front that frontal lobe of the brain is where the behavioral
Decision,
control
yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
where the
The prefrontal
and
cortex.
specifically the prefrontal cortex. Yeah, that's where the aggression and lack of aggression is too. So
Yeah.
I
as
feel like
one
maybe he's
flew over
nuking
the
the right
cuckoo's
area.
nest taught us. Yeah. So no, but
I did
I
not
love.
take like 3 organic chemistry classes not to know that shit.
I just watched a Jack Nicholson movie. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But
Yeah, and all that made me do was like wander around an art gallery defacing things.
that
Maybe
not
I
that
wrote
Jack
classes
Nicholson
around
movie.
Jack Nicholson.
The other one. As if there's just one other. But no, but can I tell y'all though, I love the way the climax goes down in the morgue thing where you've got the army of the dead that all
Mhm.
rise,
Mhm.
and you've got to, everybody's got to fight them off and stuff. That was a really good scene. I felt like I had actually know I had seen this movie, and for some reason, Ron, I thought that was in the Return of the Living Dead movie or a Living Dead movie. It feels like something out of that world, among everything else.
Um, kind of in um, Day of the Dead. There's a
Yeah,
scene
yeah,
where like all the pinned up corpses get free. They're not laying on like slabs like that though. I
right.
feel like the only scenes where a guy gets up off a slab is in at least 2 of the Halloween movies.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
that. Well, Jason does that a few times. The Michael Jackson's
Yeah, where the
Thriller.
guy
Yeah,
sets up and he's got the drape on him. Yeah,
yeah. I can see that. But I
but
mean,
no, I definitely see that that's kind of like an idea that's spread through a bunch of different um, movies, and it's a really cool visual because they all kind of sit up at once.
right. Well, and they're all
And
like
then
in
it's like the
different parts
real
of
oh shit moment.
dismemberment. You've got the guy that's like got all the tendrils hanging off of him, and you've got the other one that's like,
Yeah, he's a burn victim. They
Yeah.
all died of like different things.
yeah, and you've got one
Yeah.
that's like partially been in the uh, they're examining for the autopsy, so he's partially
Well, he-
cut.
Yeah, he's got all the
Mhm.
things hanging off of him
Yeah.
too. Yeah. That was good.
Really
Yeah.
good practical effects though, without being like
in
terrifying or
the-
gross, like just gross enough to like make me go, "Oh, that's good
That
makeup."
was really cool. Yeah.
They do go through that morgue earlier, and he does kind of list because he's looking for the freshest corpse, and he says, "Oh, burn victim. Oh, here's your meatball," because he says because guy got hit by a truck or whatever, and
Right.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah. But I mean, I like
do we
that though.
want to talk real quick?
Go.
Oh, I was gonna switch gears entirely, so you should probably finish.
No,
first,
I was just following up the same point. So you're
No,
good.
let's shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Shift
gonna say, do we
away.
want to talk real quick about how the score to this film is not at all original?
It's a
It is
total
lifted from an entirely different movie.
Yes. Can we talk about the fact that the brother of one of the producers, Richard Band, the brother of Charles Band, just quote paid homage to Bernard Herrmann in Psycho, and by paid homage, photocopied.
Yeah. The opening credits to this film is just the theme to Psycho. It just
Right.
is.
But look, honestly, like, it kind of works.
It
Like,
does.
that's what's wild about it. It's a total ripoff, but it sort of works. So
That's
It's like all those Jimmy Hart
hilarious.
themes that in WCW. But it would be like, oh, Diamond Dallas Page is coming out to Nirvana, but Jimmy Hart scrubbed the serial numbers off of it and changed like 3 chords, and now it's a completely different song in theory.
it's like what Vanilla Ice said. Like, see, Queen is dun 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 dun, and I've got dun 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 dun. You know, it's the same idea.
Uh-huh. He still lost that lawsuit though, did he?
Well,
not?
no. He just bought the no. Brian May like, dude, just buy the rights to the song. It's cheaper. He's like, bet. And he did. He said that made more money than the album did.
Excellent.
He did the Michael Jackson to Paul McCartney. Paul was
Got
like,
to
hey,
diversify the portfolio.
look, you do. And then Michael bought the Beatles catalog. So I mean, no, I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because we had gone too long without talking about the score on this. It is a total ripoff, but yet it completely fits in every way. Like, it's amazing how well it fits, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it is. No, it really is. It's great though. But it's just so funny because I remember the first time seeing this movie going, that's the theme to Psycho. And then listening to the rest of the movie and going, that's Psycho. The only thing missing is the
Yeah.
That
like it's
honestly, the whole time viewing this today, that every time the music would shift, I would think to myself, "Gosh, that sounds familiar,"
yep.
and I never,
Because it did.
never
Because it
placed
was.
it. I even read the whole homage to Psycho bit. Like I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's really nice," and it just never clicked until now. That's funny.
Yeah, my favorite piece
Yeah.
of trivia is Richard Band was like, well, they're supposed to put a thanks to Bernard Herrmann in the credits, and they cut it out. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, sure.
You had to acknowledge that for the lawyers. So, which I don't know. Herman's estate must have just not cared or been around enough to know, like, we're totally getting ripped off, like on this guy at all. But again, I'll go back to it. Like, you think about the Psycho movie, and it's considered this like ultimate classic. But when it was made by the TV production crew for Alfred Hitchcock on the cheap. You know, it was a cheap thing, and it worked because it was so low key, right? You know, I mean, scores in horror movies make the movie in a lot of ways. Like, Matt, we talked about it offline, and I'm sure you know this too. Halloween would be nothing without that score.
Yeah,
At all.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I say the same for like Nightmare and Friday too. Without some of the score work in those movies, like that's just boring shit. You know, you gotta have a
Halloween,
good score.
yeah, Halloween. Every time I hear the score, even just to hear the first few notes, like I still get the goosebumps. Hair stands
Yeah.
up on my arms. I love it. It's one of the best film scores of all time. I'll die on that hill. It's so great.
Yeah, you'll be joined by a lot of us on that hill because
Mm-hmm.
it is an incredible score. So and again, this one's not nearly on the same level, but it works. It's like
Yeah.
we just played the Psycho soundtrack and we just kept the temp. So sure, it works.
Honestly, I like a lot of Richard Band's compositions.
Mhm.
He's very much a garbage composer, but I feel like it kind of works for the movies he's in and the things he's doing.
So he's the
Like,
Nickelback of composers, you're saying?
yeah, exactly. And it's funny because the recording of the soundtrack took longer than the making of the movie because it took like 3 weeks to record the soundtrack, and it took, as we discussed, it took them 18 days to record the movie. So they literally took longer to get the soundtrack right, and it was just like filed off Psycho.
Yeah, that's funny.
Great.
No.
But he also hired like a full orchestra to do it. So I mean, that's an improvement from the usual Richard
Well,
Band.
do you think anybody in that orchestra was like, this seems awfully familiar?
I mean, they're Italian. They probably don't care if the check clears. The
Ah,
whole
okay.
Italian film industry is based off of ripping off successful horror movies
That's fair.
and
That's
successful action movies and successful cop movies, and
Fair
just
point.
reusing characters willy nilly and being like, okay, come sue us in Italy.
join us for next year's
Beyond the
Italian
Force.
horror retrospective. But yeah, so, no, you're not wrong. I agree. So that's a fair point. So well, what about like just going forward? Like watching this movie made me realize like how many things it indeed influenced. You know, there's so many like little pieces that I feel like get borrowed from this, from a lot of horror movies, not only in the '80s but on through till today. You know, it's particularly like you mentioned him in the outset, Matt. Like Jordan Peele, I think a lot of his wry humor sort of lives
Yeah.
in the same world. You know.
Yep.
So
I can see that.
yeah, there's the bit with the head carrying.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few that, or there's at least one moment where the body is kind of fumbling around and you see the eye roll of the head, like, ugh, this stupid body. Okay, come here. That is in Hocus Pocus, like straight
Yep.
out of this movie. And I was like, this looks really familiar too. Did Hocus Pocus just rip this whole bit off? And I mean, honestly, facial expression for facial expression, there it was spot on.
There's a part in The Last Starfighter where there's an android character who gets his head taken off and he has to fix stuff, and like the disembodied body it realizes it's frustrated and it takes the head and shakes it like, oh no, side to side. And I feel like that's the same thing from this movie.
Again, it's a great bit. It's really
Mhm.
funny and it
Yep.
works really well if you can, pull it off.
Mhm.
I wish more
Yeah,
movies would take. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I wish more movies would take more cues from this film and other films like it because Jay, you and I have had this discussion a little bit off the air, but like horror now these days is just so self-serious, just so
Mhm.
much
Yeah.
all just so serious and not to sound like a dirty pervert, but like even the sex and nudity is gone out of horror films, and it's like, why though? Like, why are we comfortable with the violence portion of it and not with the naked part of it? That seems
Yeah.
like
Well,
weird to me. And
I feel like nudity is or has been for decades a really important part of just horror in general. And
yeah.
it is kind of a mark of a good horror movie, I feel like. And it doesn't have to be specific nudity like we already talked about. This
No.
one has it all.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's not done in like a really gross way. I mean, it's a gross movie, sure, but it's done in like it makes sense in the context of the movie.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's just one of those things to me where it's like, boy, it's weird that as a culture we're still fine with all the blood and guts and everything, and we're
But
not
we're not
fine with the
okay with
human
nudity.
body. Like,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
weird thing to me.
I'm with you
But
too. Like that's the thing is like, particularly the nudity in this movie and nudity in horror movies is all about the idea of vulnerability,
Yeah.
right? And in our world, like when you don't have any clothes on, you feel like, oh God, what if the fire alarm went off, right? You know,
Yeah.
have to grab the near a
Sure.
sheet and run outside. And that's the idea here. And that's one thing I appreciated about this movie. Again, as I said in the outset, like when Dan and Megan are together, it feels like a real people. Like that's just, it just felt normal. It wasn't anything like weird. And then even when she gets stripped down and the the Lothario's head is gonna try to assault her or whatever, I'm like, well, he kind of set that up. He was creepy as hell. So in Dead, yeah, he would be super creepy. Like I get it. Like
Yeah.
it served a purpose in some ways. Yeah,
But
and I think we
yeah.
missed that. Yeah.
Yeah, we missed that, but also just in general the idea of like now every movie is in I got an eye roll on this when I used it on our horror bracket episode, Jay, but everything is just about something.
No,
in
I'm
big
with you though.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
subtext
Yeah,
has
Mhm.
become text in horror movies. It just has, and subtext should not become text. And so I just wish the legacy of this film and other films like it could be people rediscovering it and actually making some fun horror movies again.
I have the same issue with comedians too. Everything has to be everything. They're just comedy, stand-up comedy has really gone downhill since the pandemic. That's like the cutoff,
Yeah.
where it just like stopped being good, I feel like. Maybe they just weren't getting enough practice. But yeah, I agree. It would be really nice to see more like I don't know. Yeah, like you said, Matt, a rediscovery of these really fun 70s, 80s horror movies that didn't take themselves too seriously, that didn't try to make a 2.5 hour length feature film out of it. Like, no. If it goes above 90 minutes, that is not a good length for a horror movie. Like,
Yeah.
it has to be 90 minutes or less.
Yeah, can we talk about the fact this is 86 minutes long, including credits? Like this movie does not waste any time, and I
Nope.
appreciate that. This movie is a pop song. It's don't bore us and get to the chorus.
Yep.
Like it's and I'm here for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my biggest gripe about those Terrifier movies, besides the fact that the gun play, is that they last too friggin' long. Like, I don't need that for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Like, you can tell that shit in 90 minutes, and you should. So it's
Yeah.
and nothing of like value would have been lost if you'd cut any of those movies down to like 90 minutes.
No, and that's the thing. Like, of everything they may have cut out of this or whatever, it was probably a good idea. Like,
Yeah.
no, keep it lean and mean. Make me guess. Make me ask questions. That's the hallmark of a movie that makes me want to come back to it. Is I want to know, what do you think it meant? What do you think this happened? What do you think happened at the end when it cut to black and we hit the psycho score again? Like, and she's screaming, like, what does that mean? Like that's the unanswered part is always the best. Like, a lot of TV shows and stuff that I loved were built on the chase, right? And if you ever got to the end of it, well, it was such a letdown, right? It's like Ralphie and Christmas Story. It's you finally decode the Ovaltine. You're like, it's a fucking commercial, which I know that's not what he said, but that's pretty much what he meant. Like, yeah, you feel that way, and it's the mystery is what keeps you going. That's the fun part of this, and we get answers, but we don't. Like, does Wes survive? Does he not? The reagent gets out. Dan uses it on Megan anyway. I don't know. I loved all of that, by the way. I love the ending of this, that it's so dark.
Yeah.
So there's a point to be said for the runtime argument, Jay, because even like the integral cut that was put out in Germany, where everything that was cut out of the movie to give it an R rating from an X rating gets put back in, and then all the drop subplots get put back in. It's still 105 minutes.
Right. It's nothing.
Literally 145.
Yep.
So even the extended cut of this, the Lord of the Rings cut, Lindsay, would fly.
Yeah.
I will say I am normally a time if it's a horror movie and I turn it on and I see it's an hour and a half or less, I'm like, good, check mark for that.
Right.
Now let's get into the movie. I'm not like that with every movie, but like there are certain action movies if they want to run a little longer. Maverick, I thought that was a long movie, but it was great. Like I didn't feel the length of that movie, and that's
it
what's
earned
important.
it.
Yeah. So I mean, with horror movies, I think that's the thing. Like how much of the story like you just don't need more than an hour and a half, I don't think, for a good horror
If I
flick.
just pull up like a random movie, Lindsay, and I
Mhm.
see it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes, I'm like, no, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna watch that.
I'll be like that too. Like
No,
Lord of
I'm
the Rings
good.
is definitely the exception, not the rule. It's the exception,
Yeah.
not the rule for me, for sure.
Oh,
But
believe me, y'all, I live this. My wife, if she sees anything over 95 minutes, is like, nah, I'm out. The only exceptions to that were the Hunger Games movies and the Twilight movies, because she was into those. But otherwise, she's like, how long is it? Like, if I want to go to a movie theater with her, I'm like, okay, let's go see this. How long is it? 98 minutes.
I mean, I'll even go up to like 2 hours. I'll give you a little more
yeah.
playtime.
Yeah,
But
I'll
like
go up to 2 hours
two
easy.
hours and 15 minutes, 2.5 hours for a horror movie,
That's too
that's a horror
much.
movie to me because
It's
I'm the one
yeah.
getting tortured
Yeah,
by sitting in
exactly.
that
Yeah, I don't
theater
need
for
that.
two
I don't-
hours and 30 minutes
yeah.
Yeah.
plus 30 minutes of bullshit.
No, and look, my favorite scary movies of all time all run between an hour and 10 minutes and an hour and a half.
Oh,
They
yeah.
really do because they
Yeah.
don't waste your time. They don't need to.
Last night I rewatched. I've watched it several times. It's a great little spooky season. Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh,
That's not
great
even
call.
90 full minutes, I don't
Yeah.
believe. I think
Yes.
it's 82.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fabulous movie.
It's a
It is
great movie.
fabulous
Awesome flick.
movie. And it doesn't waste your time.
Well-
It is in and out. It's great from beginning to end. It has no fat.
Can I take one
Just-
that I rewatched recently? The 1959 House on Haunted Hill. It's 75
that's a
minutes
great
long.
movie.
Hell yeah.
Mm.
It's perfect. I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. It's just a little more than a lunch break, assuming I got an hour for lunch. But I mean, like, really, I'm like, this is perfect. And you know what? It's so rich and deep
Yeah.
too. Like, there's so much to get from it. All the stuff that you think you're adding in. I know we're just preaching to the choir that's not listening, but but all the stuff you think you're doing, you're just bloating it. It doesn't need to be there. Like, and look, I love prog rock as much as everybody, but sometimes all you need is 3.5 minutes. Just give me the damn song. You know, I mean, I love Pink Floyd, but come on, give me the damn song. Like let's get to this. But anyway, so have any of y'all seen the sequels though? Anybody watched any of them?
Yeah.
I've never seen any of them. So
I have, yeah.
all right, what thoughts, real quick?
Yeah,
Man?
I've seen.
Bride of Re-Animator's super weird. It's
That's saying something. So,
Dr. Hill's head gets bat wings sewn to it and flies around. That happens. Herbert has like a whole graveyard full of reanimated body parts next
Wow.
to the basement he's working in that eventually break through the wall and come in.
so Thriller and Tremors.
Yeah. It's good though. I like it. I get a kick out of it. It's it's decent. Beyond Re-Animator is I don't know how to describe Beyond Re-Animator because it's not a fully American production. It's American and Spanish. It's slightly more recent. I gotta actually real quick look up the year on that, unless you know off the top of your head.
I
Ron.
don't off the top of my head, no. So,
I know Ron has seen it. I didn't know if he knew off the top of his head. 2003.
2003, yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
I knew
it's-
2000s, but yeah.
It's a little bit later, so it's got some, early 2000s digital effects in it. It's a little bit weirder. I still don't hate it, but it's
Don't
the
love
one
it either.
I don't love it either. No.
That's fair.
Well, it's Brian Usna directing it. It's not Stuart Gordon.
Yep.
The budget is like only $3 million in 2003, which means they had no money to make it. It's like the Sci-Fi Channel was involved.
I was gonna say I think it premiered on Sci-Fi Channel. So,
It did
Yeah.
because I watched it.
Okay.
2003.
Yeah. But
So-
you get
Yeah.
to see, Herbert West in prison reanimating prisoners and parts of prisoners and stuff like that. So
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs, especially in Beyond Re-Animator, like They're just like, well, we know you're here to see Jeffrey Combs do Jeffrey Combs shit, so we're just going to get out of the way and just let him like Herbert West around for
Which
2
is
hours.
wild considering he didn't want to do this to begin with. Like that's what's funny.
I just
Unfortunately,
looked
I
up a
don't think-
picture of Dr. Hill's head with bat wings on it.
Yeah.
I would watch the movie just for that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Bride of Re-Animator isn't streaming anywhere right now, which is really stupid. Beyond Re-Animator's on Tubi right now, but Bride of Re-Animator isn't anywhere at the moment.
That feels like one of those rights issues things that
Yeah.
happens from time to time.
It was on, all three of them were on Tubi for years together. And now regular Re-Animator is on Amazon. Beyond Re-Animator is still on Tubi, and Bride of Re-Animator is nowhere.
Oh,
Looks like you can rent it on Fandango.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, well, I guarantee you our friend Anthony owns this somewhere in his Voodoo catalog. We should ask him.
It's you can get it on Vudu as well. It can be
that's Fandango at home
yeah.
now. So yeah, we should text Anthony and ask him. But no, so Ron, your thoughts on the sequels and things like that. What have you seen?
I've seen all the sequels. Like I said, I watched Bride of Re-Animator cut up for TV and had a good time watching, Herbert West do Herbert West things. Jeffrey Combs is great. He carries all these movies. It's been so long since I've seen Bride that I don't remember a ton about it other than it's just really weird. Like, even by like the standards of like a movie set in the Re-Animator universe, it's like, how can we make this even stranger? And then they did it, which, credit to them for, going full crazy. But they just were like, all right, yeah, here's some banana shit. Just have fun. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
There is another, it's not in the same franchise, but there is another Re-Animator movie called Herbert West Re-Animator. I've never seen it. It looks pretty bad though. But there is one actually named Herbert West Re-Animator that came out in 2017. So
yeah, I can't even imagine what that would be. So they've talked about for years doing like a straight up remake of this, of Re-Animator, and honestly don't know how I feel about that. Sometimes I'm good for that idea. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Sure, let's give it a new polish. But then on the other hand, Matt, I'm with you as I feel like is it gonna be one of these movies that has a message, beaten into it or whatever? And I don't know,
Not only that, but I said it before. I think this franchise lives and dies with Jeffrey Combs. Like, I don't know. That's one of those things like, someday down the line, hopefully not while any of us are alive, but somebody's going to remake Indiana Jones, and there's going to be somebody that's not Harrison Ford, and you're going to be like, that doesn't, no, Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford. And
Isn't that what they tried to do with the last Indiana Jones movie?
Sort of, a little bit, but
yeah.
But it's like, who do you, unless you make it like who do you get to do that role? I don't know. Right. It's one of those things where it's like some remakes in some characters, I think you can continue to recast all the time. And then there's sometimes you get like, I know some people like this movie, but like, look how roundly that Solo, a Star Wars story movie was rejected with that other guy playing Harrison Ford, or again, not playing Harrison Ford.
Han Solo, but you know what though?
He was playing Harrison Ford. It's fine.
Look, they hired an acting coach to make him act like Harrison Ford. I actually don't hate that, by the way. Just low-key. We never reviewed it here on Film Strip, but I like that movie. It's fine for what it is, But
sure, I mean, it has lots of defenders. People say it's fine, but it's like, at the end of the day, do you really want to watch that guy play Han Solo, or do you want to watch Harrison Ford play Han Solo?
Right.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine, but it has no reason to exist.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Good point. So, well, I think we're at the part of the podcast where it's time to give final thoughts, recommendations, and popcorn ratings. So, what are yours for Re-Animator? Matt, let's start with you.
I mean, this film is a blast. I've watched it twice since September. I watched it first because I just wanted to, and then I watched it because we were going to do this show, and then a little behind the scenes, we had to delay it by a couple days, and I thought to myself, do I want to watch it a third time before we do the show? I didn't end up watching it a third time. But I thought about it pretty hard. Um, this is like a top five horror movie for me. It's, my number one horror movie in the world is Halloween. And, I also really like American Psycho. And then right in there is Re-Animator. To me, this is a great big old large popcorn. I just have a blast every time I watch this. I don't get tired of it. And to me, like I said, I think this is everything a horror movie should be. It's gross, it's weird, it's funny, it's got, all sorts of naked people. It's not taking itself too seriously. I don't know. I think this is right up there in, the great category.
All right, Linz, what about you?
Man, I'm still sitting with this movie after I finished it earlier today. I was trying to decide what size popcorn I would give it. It was so much more fun than I expected it to be. I wasn't sure what to expect with it going into it. I genuinely knew nothing about it. It had never crossed into my purview at all. So I went into it very fresh and I loved it. From the opening scene, my first thought was, wow, this body horror is cool. Like, all right, we've got some eyeballs exploding. We're kind of bringing some dudes back from the dead. This is fun. I'm in. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. I think I'll give it a rewatch. I think I'll give it a large with Matt as well. I don't know if it's in my top 3 yet. I think it's one of those movies where if I keep thinking about it for the next couple days, like Street Trash, which I think about every day now, it it'll make its way up there. But I would give it a large popcorn. I have almost no negative notes about this movie. I just go watch it. I'll definitely watch it again. I don't even know what I'm talking about. This is a large popcorn movie for me.
Ron.
I would argue that Matt meant to give it an extra large popcorn, just because it sounds like he could not have rated it any higher.
That's probably true. I probably did. I always just think, the extra large one is the one I tend to not pay for anymore at the movie theater, so I kind of forget about it because it's these days it's more popcorn than I care to eat in the sitting of a movie. But so yeah, I probably did mean extra large popcorn.
That's fair. You're not paying for the extra large popcorn here. It's free. Uh, and I will join you guys in that extra large popcorn because, man, this movie it holds up so well.
Mhm.
Like, even the parts where the special effects are dated, they're funny.
Yep.
And they're not unintentionally funny. They're intentionally funny, like him carrying around his own severed head. Or the part where, we didn't even talk about this, where the body with the missing head has the fake brain head statue thing from His desk on top.
Yes. That was
as if that would make it more attractive. Yeah. So
yeah.
As if that would make it past any inspection whatsoever. And the fact that the security guard is just sitting out in the hallway just reading porn.
Yeah, he's too busy having to read his porn and go on his bathroom breaks.
Look, it's proof that you read porn for the articles. That's what that is.
Yeah, sure. He was definitely taking that to the bathroom for the articles. But yeah, extra large popcorn. Jeffrey Combs is amazing in this. Everybody's great. But Jeffrey Combs, just, I don't know why they bothered to make that Italian Re-Animator sequel without Jeffrey Combs, because there was just no point. man, what a performance. David Gale is fabulous, and I feel like if he hadn't died in 1991, we'd have got more great work out of him. The weirdest combination of life experiences a dude could have, being born in the United Kingdom and growing up in New Jersey, and then moving to California and having the strangest accent you've ever heard as a result of it. Yeah, just like a top-notch movie all around. Just so much fun, and like is meant to be fun. So yeah, extra large popcorn for me.
I don't know that I can add much more to it than what y'all said. It's just a blast. It's so much fun to watch, and I'd forgotten how much fun it was. And it's a reminder that horror can be scary and can be fun at the same time, without having to beat you over the head with any larger message or thought or anything. It can just be like, nah, these people are just fucking crazy and we're going to reanimate bodies and we're going to see what happens, like I love the kind of punk rock version of that story that it is, and it's in the roots of it too, set aside Lovecraft being a horrible human being and all that, like the root of the story was this idea of just uncontrolled ego, from these smart people. And again, having spent my career working in higher ed and stuff, and I worked with a lot of really smart people, but you could see, like, I could see the origin of the evil villain version of some of the people I've worked with as professors. They're all great people, by the way. But like, in some level, though, like, you're a comic book villain. You just don't know it, but like, it's just the wrong turn, the wrong way. And I love that about this because, again, West is not really the antagonist. He's not the protagonist. He's just the agent of chaos among all these other people. And the bad people are the people who you realize, like, what if you could reanimate, like, Mother Teresa? That'd be great, right? As long as maybe her evil tendencies didn't come back with her. And I love the idea that's carried through from here, through Pet Cemetery, other things like that. It's like, sometimes dead is better, and it's not wrong. And I love that idea that, like, well, again, to go back to Jurassic Park, maybe you should have stopped and thought, should you? And I love that idea here that we just keep playing with that. And again, the performances are just all off the chart. Barbara Crampton's great. Bruce Abbott's great. And Jeffrey Combs is just perfect in this role. And it's just a fun movie to watch. And if you haven't seen it in a long time, or for some reason you didn't watch it and you watched us or listened to us talk about it, spoilers, but I hope you go and check it out because it's totally worth it. And I'm intrigued enough to go check out the sequels. I never have, but I kind of want to know. I'm with you, Lindsay. I looked at that same picture. I'm like, I got to see that. I just want to see that in action.
It's wild.
Yeah. I've
It
got to go
looks
check it out.
great.
It's fun.
Yeah. I've got
It
to go.
looks really fun.
Yeah, I gotta find that. So this is a large popcorn for me, and it's just a good time. And I'm so glad we got to talk about it here on Film Strip as part of Shocktober 25. Matt, thank you again for coming on the show,
Oh, no
for
problem.
bringing
It
this
was
to
great.
us. Tell folks how they can follow you, all the cool stuff you got going, and tell people where they can find your book, man, because it's all for it. Yeah.
Well, if you want to listen to my show, you can listen to Two Broke Geeks. It's wherever you find fine podcasts, although calling it fine may be a stretch. You can also buy my book. It's spooky season right now, but my book is a Christmas book, and Christmas is coming up right after all this Shocktober stuff is over. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's titled Santa in His Own Words by Santa Claus with help from Matt Spaulding. You can find it even just by searching my name, Matt Spaulding. I'm the only one on Amazon, so it's pretty easy to find. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being with us again. It has been an absolute
Thanks for having me.
blast. Yeah, and you can catch Matt, a frequent guest on Two Girls One Crypt, on Tis the Podcast. He's part of the big horror bracket that Tis the Podcast does this time of the year. That Ron and I'm filling in for Lindsay this year on that bracket. Please finish your master's degree so that I can go back into obscurity, Lindsay. But no, that's a good time on that show, and it's always good talking to you, Matt. And of course, you can follow this show on social media if you're so inclined. At Film Strip Pod is our handle everywhere. You'll see announcements about upcoming shows, other fun. And by other fun, we're basically going to put over all of our friends' podcasts. So if you're a podcast, follow us. We'll probably listen to you and put you over. And if you want to be on our show, by all means, the door's open, and invite us on your show. We're happy to do that. Ron and Lindsey and I make our rounds on other shows, sometimes together, sometimes separate. But Voltron is always available at your or Robotech, whatever your Animus is. But we're here for you. And don't forget to subscribe to this show wherever you find podcasts. And hey, if you're checking this out on YouTube, you're seeing our smiling faces for Shocktober. So give us a thumbs up. We've had a lot of run on that YouTube channel. We're trying to build that up a little bit. So let us know what you think of it. We appreciate the support. Those of you who left comments, we appreciate that on videos. It helps people find us. And of course, leave us a positive review. It makes us feel really good about ourselves and also helps other people find the show through the algorithm of corporate nonsense, which is what we are here to fight and beat at all times. So until next time, for Ron, Lindsey, and our friend Matt, I'm Jay. Thank you for listening to Film Strip.
Thank you for listening to Film Strip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Film Strip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.